The bow and arrow. Everybody loves it, and we know very little about its history here in Eastern North America. Most archaeologists typically tend to associate small triangular projectile points with the bow and arrow as actual arrowheads. There was an archaeologist back in the 90s who put forth the idea that perhaps the Meadowood point, a much larger point with side notches, perhaps the Meadowood point could have been an arrowhead. Not all Meadowood points, because some of them are actually quite large, quite heavy, but perhaps some could have been used as arrowheads. My student Alexis is working on an undergraduate thesis, and the idea is to explore this idea, this question of whether or not some Meadowood points could be used as arrowheads. So Alexis traveled to the New York State Museum. The good people at the New York State Museum allowed her to measure the length, the width, the distance between notches, the weight of dozens of their Meadowood points in their collections. She then took this information and hooked up with a master flint knapper by the name of Barry Keegan. Barry then reproduced 6 Meadowood points according to her measurements. He then hafted the Meadowood points to viburnum arrowwood shafts, fletched with turkey feathers, and all lashed down with white-tailed deer sinew. Barry Keegan also built Alexis a beautiful hickory longbow. And we'll look at it a little closer in a few moments, but basically to the specifications of the Sudbury bow. Using this equipment, Alexis then set forth to develop experiments whereby she was firing Meadowood points from a traditional 50-pound hickory bow to see how they would perform. Again, just to give you an idea, this is the size of the points that she will be firing. These are the size of the triangle points, this one actually being an artifact dating to about AD 1000 to maybe AD 1300, and the Meadowood point dating to, well, thousands of years before that, 1200 BC-ish. So we'll see how that experiment goes. So for the project, Alexis wanted to eliminate as many variables as possible, really wanting to hone in on the performance of the Meadowood tipped arrows. So to do that, she wanted to eliminate the variable that is the archer. Some people are better shots than others. So she created a shooter, and here you see a shooter based on models that she found on the internet. You can buy shooters. This would be a DIY version of those expensive products that are for sale. So basically, the bow, as you'll see shortly, is attached here. It's clamped, it's fastened in place. There is a winch, a crank attached here, and then you can repeatedly draw the bow to the exact same point each and every time. And again, the idea is to eliminate the variable that is the archer. So you'll get to see this baby in action in just a few moments. The bow was made by Barry Keegan, and it's a replica of the Sudbury bow. You can see the string is made of sinew. The bow itself is made of hickory. We put a serving on it today to protect the sinew, just as an added safety measure. You can also see the beautiful shooting machine that Alexis built. Nicely made. It's been performing wonderfully. Her dad also gave a hand in putting this wonderful machine together. This is the third arrow. Just give you a sense of how straight, if we can get that, the shaft is. And again, Meadowood Point. Again, all of these are made of locally available materials, all New York State cherts, all made according to the dimensions that Alexis gathered from studying dozens of Meadowood points at the New York State Museum. Yeah, so we'll see how the sixth and final Meadowood point performs. It was just saying the shaft of this point looks, or this arrow looks more narrow than the others, but the point also looks bigger than the others. Alexis took measurements on all the arrows, the shafts, the points, etc., so she'll be able to confirm or deny that observation, but let's see how it flies. Here we have Meadowood arrow number 6. Let's see what happens. Not good. That's probably into a bucket, I bet you. That sounded like it got bucket. It got my utility box. Let's see how she fared. Don't worry about the box. The box is irrelevant. How does the point look? Didn't break. Here's Alexis and the 6th shot, take 2. Hopefully this one will get us to the ballistics gel. All right. Good shot. Good shot. Very nice. Very nice. It's an incredible sound when it hits. This thud. No. Very cool. Very cool. You can see the penetration there. Wow. Awesome. It's interesting, the entry, the size of the hole, the laceration as it moves.
What if it just looks like that because it's gelatin? It would split like that.
Yeah. I think the split certainly happens because it's gelatin, but the initial entry hole is going to be the same size, I would imagine, as the point, which is rather large. Here, Alexis is extracting the arrows from the gel, trying to see if they continued to spin upon entry or if maintained a flat course. You can see in this the lines from where it entered. All right, so what did we learn? I would say, at this point in time, what we learned is that the Meadowood point, or large stone tips, can fly quite well, can serve as arrowheads. Each arrow is different, they're spined differently, and that was measured. They weigh differently, and they tended to group differently. So we would see arrow number 3 grouping in one location, whereas arrow number 6 was grouping somewhere else. And that makes sense. That makes sense. But what we also saw was that the Meadowood point, flew quite nicely. It was accurate. It penetrated nicely. So it stands to reason that a point of this size could have been used as an arrowhead. Does it mean that the Meadowood point was used as an arrowhead, that the bow and arrow was present in Eastern North America thousands of years earlier than is conventionally thought? I don't know. More work needs to be done, but it certainly could have been, as could other types of points. So it's intriguing. It was a very interesting experiment, and I'm intrigued. I hope you were too. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit subscribe, please hit like, and keep the positive comments coming. Thank you.